Hello everybody and welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. I'm joined by former West Ham player Julia Simic. How are we doing today, Julia?
Yeah, we're good. I'm at the moment here in Italy, but it sounds weird to call myself a former West Ham player. So I'm
Oh,
still to, don't know, be part of West Ham. But yeah, I think I have to get used to this now.
are you missing it?
No, I definitely miss the girls and the staff and the people in and around the club. Like I really loved my life in London, and yeah, once was the city and everyone basically at West Ham was really welcoming from the first day on. So was a good 2 years, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, because the women's team is it's not a new thing for West Ham, but obviously when you joined, they joined the Women's Super League. So a lot of signings came in at the same time. You came from Freiburg. Now, how was that transition from German to English football first and foremost?
Yeah, there was definitely it was definitely a huge step. Like even when I was one of the older ones already, like I did this with 29, I guess, and I think that's point in your career where you experience already a lot of stuff, and you're not like too shy anymore to meet new people and to go to a new club. But it's always the first day in a new changing room is always a bit like a challenge. I think it doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
Then it's another language as well. But the good thing was with us, like obviously it was a brand new project. Like we just started, like I think 14 new players came in with me, so it didn't feel like I'm the new one. Like basically everyone was new.
Yeah.
Like just the three players who were there already, like they might have felt a little bit weird because they were the minority, and it was a bit like really quick socializing and connecting because we had so many different nationalities from I think 14 different countries, and that made it a lot easier because we were all new. We knew we need each other, so from the first day on we were quite like nice to each other. Like there was nothing that I experienced where I could say, oh, I didn't get on well with her or with her, but it was really like a family. It always sounds a bit like, oh yeah, come on, you're a family now, but
Yeah.
everyone's pretending to be a family in a club. But that was really something, maybe in my career, the nicest team I've ever played in, just from the characters and from the personalities and just from the way we bonded.
That's good to hear. But in terms of that dynamic in the dressing room, was it a lot different from, say, the other clubs you've been at? Where was it a bit more competitive and not as much of that team spirit? Because I watched the documentary, obviously, on the women's team, and there was that real level of togetherness, and obviously that drove you towards the FA Cup final. So, is that something completely new to you?
Not at all. I would say it was not the least competitive team, but I think the most fair team, if this makes sense. Like if there was also, for example, with the goalkeepers, like they were always so fair to each other, like the way they treated each other. And also, for example, I didn't play for a long time. I didn't train a lot at the end, and I still played some minutes. And I had the feeling everyone in the team would be happy for me, even if I took someone else's place in this certain time. And they were still like, hey, I'm so happy like that you're back and that you're back on the pitch, and I really don't know, feel happy for you even if you take my place now. And that's something that was new for me, and that's something I really liked in this team, also from the coaching side of way, like Matt Beard, our coach, the way he put like always the focus on the person, on the human being, and not only on football. And that's something in Germany, all the clubs I've played in, there were some really like good clubs in terms of their ambitions I played with. There was always a lot of competitiveness, which is great as well because you want to have this as an athlete. But at the same time, you also appreciate if people around you make you feel, hey, at the end of the day, the performance is what is crucial. But there's also someone behind this athlete, and we see this, and we know your struggles and we know your feelings. And sometimes it's also nice to just get a hug from your coach and say, hey, look, I know this is a hard time for you, don't worry, you'll be fine. And that's something I definitely will take from my 2 years at West Ham.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about the coaching, because in football we see a lot of different coaches. You know, you've got the tactical, analytical coaches. You've got the coaches that will put an arm around you.
Yeah.
I take it Matt was very much like that.
Yeah. No, it was weird because at the beginning it's like, okay, that's weird. In German you always give your like straight the hand and like you look each other in the eye, especially when the coach is there, you stand up. And with Matt it was always such a relaxed atmosphere. And I think that it didn't take the authority from him. Like just the opposite. Like I liked him even more and I wanted to play more for him and want to win for him as well, because I had such a good connection like to the coach, you know. And I think a lot of coaches are a little bit afraid sometimes to be too close. Okay, especially in women's football, if you're a man or male coach and that you have a women's team, you have to keep a certain distance. That's clear, but still, like you have to treat each other with respect and also yeah, the best out of everyone. But still, you can sometimes show emotions and say, "Hey, look, you made a mistake. No problem. Like I'm not gonna judge you for this. Like you're still a nice person, and I'll still say hi to you. I'll give you a hug, or don't know. He had a good feeling for senses. Like we had some really deep conversations, especially in my injury time, and that's something like I will never forget because I never experienced something like this before. Because he was really, really, really good, I think, in this kind of area.
Yeah. So what was he like in terms of training? I gather he's obviously, you know, puts your arm around you and, you know, talks to you, which is great as a coach. Did he work you hard though? Was it a very were they tough training sessions leading up to the games?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think that as soon as it came to football and to tactical stuff, or when we prepared for a team or something, that was always like 100% professional. And Matt could be like really hard with us as well, like especially in some half times. I remember like never heard the word, can't say it now, but there were some swearing
Yeah,
words. Like,
don't, otherwise you'll get taken off YouTube. Yeah.
like it's just like I think for the documentary they did from us, it was just a beep, like 15 minutes through this whole halftime. But at the same time, then he will call you the next day and say, "Hey, you know what? I love you," and he really means this. And that's something like when you sit there, especially as a German player, and you like, okay, my coach just said to me, "I love you." What do you say now? "I love you too," or it's like, you know, it's a bit like, don't know, something completely different. But this made it so special for me because it was, yes, it was hard sometimes, and there were hard sessions and hard, don't know, analysis, but also at the same time, a day later you were fine again and you could move on and be okay again with each other.
Yeah, that's great. It's so, do you know what, the West Ham women's team is such an interesting one because obviously we've mentioned that it's a brand new team, so many new players. How was it in terms of, you know, working with different players, but in a new league, and not just in terms of as a team, but playing with each other and your styles of play? Was that something that took a while to adapt to, or was it quite easy?
Yeah, I think so, especially because like we were so many new people. Like, I never experienced this before, that like there was always a little like, I don't know, a circle of player who were like, don't know, the, yeah, I don't know, the base of the team or something, right? And you would work around these players to build a starting 11 or build your philosophy around them, something like this. But we were brand new. Like obviously everyone had to adapt to everyone and every single position. So I think that just took a little bit, like at the beginning. Let's go back 2 years now. And I think as soon as we connected on the pitch as well, because we were already really good off the pitch, it just took a while to get us going on the pitch. And that was something like you could really see a progress. Like every match would be a little bit better, and then you had a full week of training again, and things started to click a bit, and then you felt like, oh wow, now it's gonna work, and like it's happening now. And that obviously that process felt really good because it was just like, imagine like 16, 18 new players working together, and everyone brings their own head a little bit with them, or their own philosophy. You still have the philosophy from the coach, but to get adapt to this, like that's taking a bit. So it was with the language, with Matt's slang as well, with the Cockney. But even the Americans were struggling with him, like understanding wise, and it was a process and it took a bit, but I think it made it really interesting. And yeah, it was a good experience for everyone, I think.
Yeah, and you could totally see that in the games as well. You know, the improvement in playing with each other and understanding each other on the pitch. for me, when I watched some of your highlights, it was interesting to see you with the number 10 on your back, but you're very much an engine in that midfield moving forward. And, you know, you had Leon and Lehman up front as well, who scored a lot of goals. How was it like playing with them? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. So it was great. I wouldn't even pick someone out. It was just like I always benefit from quick players. So I'm more the player who can pass a ball than like Lionel Messi dribble like through 15 players or something. So I'm a little bit like, my game depends on the players around me. So I was happy to have a lot of, like, we had so much pace in this team, and especially like after a while, like let's go back again 2 years, like when we just started to train with each other, and for example to Leanne or Alicia, I just said like, if I have the ball and there's space behind the defending line, like just run, you know. I'm just trying to manage to get the ball over the last row basically, and you just get it. It doesn't even have to be a good ball for me. And that was something, as soon as we got these little starting to adapt to each other, and then we had some really good, I think, combinations in our kind of play together. So it was really fun at one point, because you would just not but kind of kick the ball forward, and Alicia or Leanne or someone would just get it, you know, because they just like a different pace, different level.
Yeah, completely. We looked really dangerous on the attack, and some of your passing as well was brilliant. You know, just from set pieces and from the counter, and it really gave the team, you know, the opportunity to get those goals. I mean, obviously you've touched on it a little bit with your injury. You found time in the first team limited. I mean, what's it like as a professional football player to sort of try and rehab from an injury?
I've been through some rehab process through all my career, and like there was always a timetable, or you could always see an end. Like with this injury, it was different because it was something like, it didn't get to the point where you felt like, okay, now 2 weeks or 2 months to go now. It was just something, it didn't get better. It didn't matter what we tried. And that was something really frustrating also for me, because that was new and I didn't know. That was something also spoke with Matt, like when I said, hey, I don't know if this gonna get good again, because at the moment it doesn't feel like it, and everything I tried didn't really work out, and it was a bit of a long way to go also mentally. But as soon as I don't know, as soon as you realize, okay, look, you only have this option, you either like, you rather take it like with positivity and you try to still give something to the team, or you're gonna be totally frustrated. And that's something at one point, even when I didn't know, okay, this in 3 months you'll be back playing, I started to, don't know, just for me and myself, to be someone important still for the team. So I tried to just be as social as I could be, and communicative as I could be, and speak to everyone, and try to make sure, because I was one of the oldest in the team, so I just give everything I have, apart from playing football, to the team I can at the moment, because playing football is not an option. So I started to, don't know, be the one who's there for everyone, or who's making a joke, or lift others up when they didn't have a good game, or things like this. And that's something like that helped me as well in my process, because I felt important. And a lot of girls would come and say, hey, look, even if you can't play, you're still a big part of this team and you're still important. And that's something also Matt let me feel all the time, that I'm still here and I'm still important, even if I'm not able to play, or wasn't able to play for a long time. And obviously making it back then on the pitch for this team with this coach and these people around you, that was something like, from my feelings, like really, really, really nice.
Yeah, it's great to hear like you just felt part of that team, and obviously you offered your experience and guidance to some of these players. The pinnacle of that 2018-19 season was obviously the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
I think a lot of West Ham fans, you know, on the men's side were really gutted, because a lot of us wanted to come to Wembley, and obviously the fixtures didn't line up. But how has it been around that squad? You know, it's such a massive venue, steeped in history in English football. What was it like just being part of that?
I think it lifted us a bit through the whole other like period of time, because knowing after the semi-final we won in a really, really how would you say, like exciting game. It wasn't like it was penalties at the end, like shootout, and like there was everything in the semi-final. So making it to Wembley then was a bit like, wow, we would be the underdog, and in this final we knew this, but also like just reaching this like really big thing. Obviously Wembley is it's another level, right? Especially for you English guys, but also as a foreigner, when you hear Wembley, you get all the history in your head. Like Wembley is a big thing everywhere, I think. So just being able to play there once, and I wasn't able to play, but at least I did my warm up, and I was insisting on this. Like I said, I'm gonna move out or walk on the pitch with my boots on 100%, because I'm not gonna just sit there in Wembley and look like how the rest of the team's warming up. I wanted to stand on this holy pitch basically, right? Even if it's just for warm up. So no, I think even after you could feel like as soon as this final was over, everyone fell a bit like, not like really low, but like all the pressure and everything fell off a bit. And the next game we lost 4-0 against Brighton, who were struggling to stay in the league, so you could feel everything just like lifted us with this Wembley feeling. And as soon as this was played, everyone was a bit like, we gave a lot in advance, to reach this. And I think now, even maybe 10, 20, 30 years, it would still, tell about this big experience, because it's Wembley, so just making this, and especially with our journey as West Ham, as a brand new team with this new project, it was something I think really outstanding.
Yeah, it was a huge achievement. I don't think anyone would have expected it at the beginning of the season. We've seen so many teams that get a lot of players in, and it takes a while to gel. So really, you sort of drove on. I mean, I was watching the West Ham Reading game and the penalties, and even I was like, oh, this is really tense. So I imagine you got to the final just very happy with just being there and just enjoying it. Coming into the 1920 season, again, the injury sort of played a little bit of a role. I mean, was that I mean, obviously it was frustrating, but were you still very much enjoying the experience in English football and and being around this sort of environment?
So much. I think like England is I would say Germany is already a football country, right? Like we used to love football, and every little boy would love to, or would just start football at one point, and girls as well. Slowly, like we have a good infrastructure for little girls to play as well now, and that's just something like you would just watch football at the weekend as well. But when you come to England, it's like some of the neighbors wouldn't say hello to me because they would be Tottenham fans, and as soon as they found out that I'm playing for West Ham, like there was a almost 90-year-old woman living next to me, and she was such a Tottenham fan, so she was really struggling to have a little conversation with me when we meet each other on the street or something. So that was something where you think, wow, it's not just, the man who loves football over there, like it's everyone, every single family. You're basically born into a football club. Like when you reach the light of the world, like you already know, okay, you're gonna be a West Ham supporter one day, or you're gonna, a season ticket holder from Tottenham or something, right? Like it's just everyone in everyone's blood, basically. So experiencing this shows you a bit, okay, like England is a different country when it comes to football, and especially also with us playing in this WSL, in this like first professional league in Europe as well. Mm-hmm. This made a big difference, because when you just work, and it's not only always the money you earn or something. Like I played at clubs where maybe I earned more money, but the league wouldn't be professional. So having a doctor there every day, and having physios there every day, and having a really, really good pitch through the whole year, like where you can train on, and having ice baths and warm baths and things like this, when you just think, okay, that's something that makes it special as well, to not just be paid as a professional footballer, but also live the life of a professional footballer. Like you recover your body in a way where you feel like, okay, I need this, so I get this. And that's something where a lot of other countries, I think, could really take a piece from England, because the way they work on a really high level, that's I think also attracting a lot of female footballers want to go there, because the infrastructure is just so good and the pitches are just so good to work on.
And I think as well, like most West Ham fans are really proud that the women's team is getting supported the way it should have been supported, which is really nice for us to see. You know, we're all, like we say, we're all a family, so we should all support each other and help each other out. I mean, the WSL obviously it is the main professional league in Europe, and the standard of the football is improving year on year, and it's becoming really competitive, and it's great to see. What were your experiences in terms of playing against or seeing the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal, you know, this sort of level of team? I mean, how good are they?
Yeah, to be honest, I would say like the German league is still as competitive as the English league or the WSL, because we have like 2 or 3 top teams in Germany. Let's just say Bayern Munich and Wolfsburg, who are playing for Champions League year after year and playing for the Champions League title. Yeah. And also you have Olympique Lyon and PSG, like in France. And I would say these are the 4 top teams. And I think slowly Manchester City, Arsenal, and Chelsea reaching to that top level, especially Chelsea, like reaching the semi-finals in the Champions League last year. And these are just little milestones where you can put yourself like in the spotlight, and you attract foreign players, like let's say the elite foreign players who want to come and join this league. And then you all of a sudden have a team as competitive as you can win the Champions League. And that's something that's still Chelsea or Man City and Arsenal, where you can start to bring players over with the ambition to win the Champions League. And that's, I think that's a new dimension. And with all this good base around, with all the league being professional, and week after week you play on a really high level. And it's not like in France, for example, where you have these top 2 or 3 teams, and then there are some teams who are just really far away from that level. And that's something where England, I think, is one step ahead now, because every single team in the WSL works on that level. And obviously the good thing in England is that you just have all these big names in the league. In Germany, you have still some women football clubs. They are run by themselves. And obviously the name doesn't really remind you on something like football history. Whereas when you play against Tottenham or Man City or Man United now, or I don't know, Arsenal and Chelsea, like that's just so much. You combine so many things, or you connect so many things with these names in football. And that's something also for a marketing perspective really good, because it's just like huge names in the WSL, and that makes it all, of course, like even more attractive.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, like in football terms, that the leagues that have the most attention on them are the leagues where they're most competitive. Like even in the men's game, you know, where you've got divisions where, like, to an extent, maybe in Spain, where you've got Barca and Real Madrid, and it's like you know who's going to win that league every year. So it's perfect to have, you know, teams that are sort of competing at a similar-ish level. And you know, of course, when you move into like a European competition, you're going to be competitive on the highest level. I'm desperate to ask you about your time at Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich is a massive institution. I mean, what is it like, you know, training, you know, in and around that club?
So at this time when I played for Bayern, I played there my longest time in my career for, I think, 9 years. And that was obviously crazy, because I was just 16, and then the Bayern Munich manager would call me, like a general manager, and would say, hey, we want to have you. I was 15 at this time, and we want to sign you. I would still play for boys at this time, and I love to play with boys. So it was a bit like, shall I really do this now, or shall I keep playing with my boys, you know, around the corner? Because I love to play with the boys. But obviously I didn't miss this chance, and I went there a year later, and with 16 I played for Bayern Munich in the first team. And that was back then another thing I would say than it is now, because now they playing Champions League and they playing for the title every year. Back then we were like more an average team who progressed year after year after year to win the cup, to win the league then, and to just reach into these top dimensions basically in women's football. And that's making, or being a part of this process was great as well. But also, obviously, like being a part of Bayern Munich, you would just travel somewhere and everyone is like a well-known brand, right? Bayern Munich, like everyone would know Bayern Munich. Doesn't matter where you are, if this is in Asia or in America or somewhere. So that's something like, obviously that's really cool, and or identifying yourself with such a great club is really nice as well. But I think, just don't know. I'm just happy that they now taking it really serious with the women's team as well, and that it's not Bayern Munich and also like the women's team. It's like one big thing now, and I'm just happy that both teams are really successful, and the women's are slowly getting there where the men team is already for years, and yeah, being in the top clubs of the world basically.
Did you watch Bayern Munich versus Barcelona?
Yes, and I still feel really happy for Bayern Munich. Like I still have it in my heart. So it's crazy. I think Bayern is they just marching through. Like they're not just winning, they really slaughtering the teams at the moment. You know, they don't stop. Like they bring another player. Like when Coutinho comes in, and he was also like really crucial for the result. Like he scored, he made an assist, and it's just one of them like years where every player feels important. And even if you don't play from the beginning, you come in and you still have an impact. And that's something, their advantage to, I think, win the Champions League.
100%. Like they're my favourites to win it until Manchester City.
You love Bayern, right?
Do you know what though? It's interesting because obviously since the whole pandemic and obviously English football basically closed down. Obviously the Bundesliga opened up quite early, so I watched quite a lot actually. And the quality over there is quite startling. I didn't realise how good it is, and I think the best thing about German football is the way they incorporate the fans. I think as a culture that's so crucial, and I think that some English clubs have a way to go in terms of that model, but I think Germany have got it spot on.
You're back. Sorry, I think that was my signal.
That's all right. I think I was just talking about how spot on the culture in German football is.
Yeah. No, it's like, for example, with the fans, it's something like when I came to England and I watched a lot of games in the stadium as well, at West Ham or also different stadiums, just to get a little bit of the atmosphere there as well. And at the beginning, I was a bit like, okay, I thought it's a bit louder in stadiums because I'm used to having fans singing 90 minutes. From the first minute on, they singing and they jumping and it's just like, it's really loud in a stadium. Not only when your team scores or have a corner or comes near the goal or something, it's just like constantly. And that's something, there are really quiet moments in English stadiums. Like, and that's a bit like, okay, well, but then when you have a corner or something, fans completely getting crazy. Or when you pass back to the goalkeeper, like fans would just like kill you because they just want to have you playing forward and attacking. That's a bit different from, I think, from the philosophy of English and German football, because we would just keep the ball, and sometimes goalkeepers have more like touches on the ball than the midfielder, just because he would go over the goalkeeper all the time. But yeah, I like this English way of play, like really direct and really forward and always attacking.
Yeah, just never non-stop really. Premier League's just constant. Yeah. You've obviously now moved to AC Milan, another massive club as well. Are you started training? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, like I started a week ago basically, because I came a little bit later and arrived a bit later than the rest of the girls, because I was still like in a rehab process and it was quite late, the offer, and that everyone was confirmed and signed. So I started a bit later, and now I'm in a rehab process still with my knee, but to a time where I can basically play in hopefully soon. But the league starts here already next weekend, so it's a bit like, okay, wow, we are the first to start. Like a lot of focus will be on the Italian league, how we manage this time as well with the virus and everything. And it's going to be interesting for me. It's a brand new league as well. I've seen some training sessions now from the girls, and I'm looking forward to also like experience a new league and a new country of football, and just having new insights in a new philosophy again, and a bit struggling still with the language, but I think this will come with time. But it's just great to like see another kind of philosophy again, when you have like the German way of thinking football, and now you have the English one as well, and now you're going to Italy, also a big football country, and you get a new insight basically into football.
Have you seen any, I mean, I know you've only been there for a week, so it's a little bit soon, but have you seen any like immediate changes in the philosophy in terms of Italian football and how they want to play?
Italian football is quite tactical, you know. It's not so much straightforward as I would compare it to England. I think it's more like a little bit the German football, where you try to keep control over the ball and over the possession, for example. But especially like the big focus is on defensive, like on pressing, for example. And just from the week I'm here now, like there's a lot of focus, like when you lose the ball, what happens then? Or when the opponent is building up the game, where's everyone's place, basically? And that's something like, that's again, a little new thing for me as well to learn. And maybe one day I'm a coach as well, and I'm just trying to get the best out of every country. But it's good. I like this. And also, you never stop learning as a player as well. So just take it and maybe improve your game by this new philosophy and working against the ball. And then, just adapt it a bit to your game.
Italian football is so interesting. It's a bit like a chess match, isn't it? Where it's sort of waiting for the other team to move and how can we do it? And you see that, from Inter.
Also, yeah, exactly. Inter Milan obviously played the Champions League, the Europa League, and you could see it's like that they are so good, like in terms of their defensive game, how they win balls back and then directly go to the goal and score from winning balls, basically. And that's something like you can see it Inter Milan's way of playing as well, like when you watch the Europa League. And it's nice. I like this, like just a different philosophy again, completely different.
Yeah, and Antonio Conte is a master of it. I remember watching him in when he was the Italian national manager, and the team technically wasn't the best, but he just drilled them in exactly what they had to do. And you had that great back line of Bonucci, Chiellini, Barzagli, and they were just brilliant at it. And it is good to watch. I suppose some people might not like it. It might not be the most, attacking football, but it's so interesting. And the Italian game in general is changing now. Obviously, Ronaldo going over to Juventus a few years ago, the spotlight's kind of on it. So, and it's going to be interesting to see how it changes really going forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for example, with the women's league, they want to turn into a professional league as well in 1 or 2 years. So that's something when everything falls a bit or stands with like also foreign players, how good is the quality of players you can bring into your league? And that automatically raises the level of the league, of the attraction, of the attention you get from the media as well. And that's also something like I wanna do here as well. Like just come here as a foreign player and give the whole thing a little bit of a chance and see what's new, what's good here, what can be improved, and also be someone who can maybe help, because I just experienced a lot of different things in top clubs and other countries, and I think everyone can always learn a bit. It's a bit of a win-win situation, I would say, but just turning into a professional league, I think will definitely help. And the media is crazy here. Like also the fans, like it doesn't really matter if it's the women's team or the men's team, it's just AC Milan. And they would also, show like the matches from the girls team in the San Siro stadium of the men's, and the fans would go crazy when they see it on the big screen and the girls are scoring, and the whole stadium would completely freak out. And that's just when you think, hey, that's cool. I love this. Like also bringing some emotions into the women's game and bringing the media in, and just treating the girls like professional footballers, and then we can also give something back and make it as attractive as possible and play some good football.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Like we're seeing this across Europe now, and I know the women's game in America's come on quite a way, but definitely in Europe it's improving, and obviously there's that buy-in as well from the clubs, which I think there has to be. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops, how it changes. Obviously, love when the World Cup comes around. It's nice to watch as well. So it's looking really positive. I've got one last question for you. What was your standout memory at your time at West Ham?
Good question. Like my personal standout memory, I think would be like going back on the pitch, like when I was injured for that kind of like whole year, and just looking into Matt's face before he would substitute, bring me in the game, and the last basically like view and a little look in my eyes, and like just that was really like a moment where you felt like, hey, I appreciate this. Thank you so much, like for trusting me and believing in me. And he would be like, he just gave me a really proud look as well. Like it was just like, I like don't know, was a good moment, and a bit of emotions as well. So that was for me when I feel maybe never more happy before, like in my whole time there, because it was just, didn't see this coming, and all of a sudden I played and it worked, and it was, as a player, it's just like the best thing best feeling you can experience after a long time, like we were out and injured, and then you're making it back to the pitch. But also, of course, like the Wembley Cup final, like when we played in Wembley, that was just something, because it was so unexpected as well. And Matt would just say from the first day on, hey, we're gonna make it to Wembley this season, and everyone was like, are you sure, mate? Like, is this something like, don't know, you do over here in England, that you just say something and it's gonna happen? And yeah, where does he have this from, and where did he get this feeling from? And then it worked, and at the end of the season he said, shit, I should have said, we're not just gonna go to Wembley, we win the final. And then we would have won. But it was a bit like, as soon as we reached it, it was a bit like, hey, we managed to come here, we enjoy it now. But maybe no, I think like that wouldn't have changed anything. But it was great, like with the whole team and just all the families coming over and friends, and everyone would have their people there. And yeah, it was a crazy day. But yeah, I think there were so many little memories, like also in the changing room. Like I never felt more happy in a changing room than at West Ham. But it's also like in England, it's a bit like you have a full day of training, or at work basically. In Germany or here as well, like you would just come an hour before you train, or half an hour, you would get changed quickly, and then you make it to the pitch. And in England, it's like you come, you eat, like you have breakfast together, you have 2 or 3 meetings, you have prehab, then 2 or 3 hours after your first meeting, you would train, actually do what you're supposed to do, then you have lunch, then you might go to the gym. Especially, you know, because when you get on well, it makes it even better when you have a whole day together. So every day it's like around your friends, and yeah, just cool, like really good memories over there.
Sounds brilliant. It was great to have you at West Ham. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best of luck in AC Milan. I'm sure you do brilliantly.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and say hi to everyone, okay?
I will, no worries. All right, you lot. Till next time. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.